Chapter 12 of Facts and Fancies by Orpheus Everts. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Linda Marie Nielsen, Vancouver, BC. Chapter 12. Woman fainted, fell unconscious, overcome by heat or other cause mysterious. Water, water, cried the fleshy woman, flurried. She who'd lost her silk umbrella, half a score or more of sisters were beside her in a moment. Pallid, limp, and lifeless lay the fallen form, which they uplifted, rubbed and fanned and duly sprinkled, doing something without knowing what to do or how to do it. 4 or 5 excited women, all at one, vociferated. "Is there a doctor on this car?" Nor was call thus made unheeded. From a rearward seat uprising came a man, no longer youthful, nor yet old, a man whose presence was commanding and inspiring. Grave he was in his demeanor, yet not sad, austere, nor sullen; self-possessed, but not conceited; in his manner he was manly. Gently pushing by the women, patient's wrist he held a moment, taking in the situation, while the fluttering flock around him chattered and interrogated. "What d'ye think's the matter, doctor? Prostration, nervous, isn't it? Looks to me more like heart failure. And so many die of it now. Ain't it fits? I have a neighbor that has fits. Acts just like her. Maybe it's hysterics, ain't it? Awful pale. She must have fainted," were among the interjections, all of which he failed to notice. Then, without a word of warning, or a question, from his pocket he drew forth a knife, and thrust its long keen blade beneath her corsage, ripping it from belt to neckband, all the sisters standing speechless, dumb with fear or consternation. Then, with dignity retiring, he resumed his seat unchallenged. Instantly the patient gasped, and her bared chest resumed its functions, soon to consciousness returning, outer garments quickly pinned up. She reclined in moody silence. Train meanwhile at a way station, having stopped, the silent doctor, unobserved took his departure. "Never seen just such a doctor in my born days, never, never," said the first one to recover from amazement, the fat woman. "Don't believe he is a doctor," said another, gravely nodding. "Run her round though, mighty suddint." "Guess he knowed what he was doin'," said the practical old farmer. "She's a come to if he'd let her. If he'd waited, he'dn't touched her," said one, neither wise nor witty. "Seems to me he might have told us to unhook her, not have spoiled her. Nice new garments, if they were tight." "Nice new garments, if they were tight," says another, contemplating, with compassion, the sad victim. "They were not tight. Fools to think so. The idea!" screamed the patient. "Snapped like lightning when he cut 'em," slyly whispered the old farmer, with a merry, senile chuckle. "Something must have been the matter. Folks don't fall that way for nothing," said a quiet, thoughtful woman. All she needed was a little campfire or Jemaky ginger. I most always have some with me, but somehow this time forgot it. It is better than a doctor, when there's nothing much the matter," said a self-complacent female, with an air of satisfaction. Better anything than doctors, sick or well. I hate, despise them. Self-conceited, false pretenders. I can guess, as well as they can, what's the matter, and their poisons. Well, I'd rather take my chances with disease than with their doses. They can't cure, and don't relieve you. All they care for is your money, said a thin-lipped, sharp-nosed woman of uncertain age and doubtful mental soundness, as I thought then. You must have been strangely favored to have lived as long as you have, without feeling the greatest need of, without knowing the greatest worth of, men whom I think, of all men, are worthiest of admiration, confidence, and true affection, said a woman whose appearance indicated blood and breeding, though but plainly dressed and poorly. It doesn't matter what my life's been, nor how long I've lived, nor whether I've been sick or well or sinful. I have reason to know better than to trust your wicked doctors, as some women do, I know of, holding up their shameless faces in the presence of their betters, said the sharp-tongued woman, flushing. I'm not curious, nor inquiring about personal experience. Life does not always leave its legends written plainly on our faces. What we are to-day, though, is the sum and sequence of our have-beens. And I speak from my experience when I say I think our best friends and most useful men are doctors, not your ill-bred quacks, pretenders, ignorant and bold impostors, advertising nostrum vendors, but learned men endowed by nature with the qualities of healers, men of conscience and knowledge, sympathetic, patient, constant, helpful with their heads and hands too, gentler than the gentlest woman, kinder than the kindest father, whether we are sick or sinful, said the lady with some feeling. Yes, I know. They're kind to sinners. Too kind, some of them, I've seen, are much disposed to sin themselves, too. Better far the consolation of religious and true men than the false kindness of such liars. There's more healing in the prayers of faithful men and women than in all the drugs ever compounded. A clear conscience and pure water, open windows and clean bedclothes, sleep and food are good for sick folks, but they need the help of God too. As for sinners, they should seek for consolation doing penance for their sins until forgiven. There is no other road to comfort. All the kindness doctors do them is not kindness when the end comes, said the thin-lipped woman warmly. You perhaps have never known the needs of other ministrations, always clean and always well fed, never sinning, never soul sick. You have never felt forsaken by both God and man, an outcast, homeless, hopeless, prayerless, voiceless, faith destroyed, love deserted, or transfigured into hatred, all because of some great error, which nor time, nor prayers, nor penance could correct, nor compensate. Never felt the insurrection of a proud soul against customs, cruel laws, unjust exactions, crushed and beaten into silence, or submission by the blows of ignorance, high-handed, cruel. You have never had a husband, once beloved, become a drunkard, terrible, inhuman, brutal. irreclaimable, untruthful, lost to every sense of duty, lost to every sense of pity, yet the father of your children, cursed perhaps in their begetting, no escape from his embraces, cannot, therefore, comprehend the needs of souls thus bound and tortured. What are prayers or exhortations to a woman thus environed, trodden under foot, degraded? What a pastor's cool assurance that God's will, howe'er mysterious, must be cheerfully accepted; that to murmur is rebellious, and rebellion forfeits heaven; that a martyr's crown is glorious, to be prized above all riches. What his mockery of sorrow, saying, at the feet of Jesus, you must lay down all your burdens, and ask him to bear them for you? Jesus, when the consolation that you need is bread and butter for your children, and protection from the blows of a mad monster, when to feel a strong arm round you, though but for a moment only, and to hear a word of kindness, spoken with appreciation, of your needs and inmost cravings, without look of ostentation, pity, or reproach, would help you do more toward your soul's salvation, if in peril, than the counsel or the prayers of pious parsons. Doctors, too, are sometimes priestly, more than priests, in their relations to the sorrowful and troubled, not alone in times of sickness, or the martyrdom of childbirth, but when death invades our households, and lays hands upon our dearest; when God's mercy is veiled from us, and his justice darkly hidden; when our hearts are sore with sorrow, and our eyes with grief are blinded. They know best, then, how to help us, know more our strength and weakness, than our pastors do, or can know. Said the lady of experience, let them touch you, if you wish it. I had rather be excused, though. I don't wish their arms around me. I've no taste for such behavior, said the doctor hating woman. Doctors do some good sometimes, get well paid for it, too, I think, said reflectively the woman who had sung the praise of Ginger. Paid! The doctors give more money, time, and charitable labor to the sick and poor and friendless than all others put together, said the rather eulogistic advocate of ideal doctors. Men too often underrated by the flippant and conceited. Doctors, interposed the preacher, who had listened with attention to this womanly discussion. Doctors, in a certain sense, are, all right, good men, but there's something wrong with science, modern science. Doctors all should be believers, but they are not half of them. I don't know of half a dozen downright, earnest Christian doctors. No, not more than one whose faith and practice justify the title. He's not worth much as a doctor. Some admit that they believe in a first cause or supreme ruler of the universe, but do not trust God's word for information, nor believe that Jesus Christ was God incarnate, nor the Logos, by which all things were created, yet admit that such a person lived and died a great exemplar, moral teacher, and all that, but nothing more. Some are agnostics, do not know, they say, and therefore don't believe. They say that they cannot without knowledge. Still they think they know a good deal more than others. Atheists they are, in fact, the followers of Herbert Spencer, Darwin, Huxley, Tyndall, Haeckel, Andrew White, and Fiske, and Winchell, and that crew of learned scoundrels who deny that God made Adam out of dust, a perfect being, through whom sin came by transgression on his part, thus undermining the foundation of our faith in Christian dogma, man's lost condition, and God's plan for his redemption. I don't know what is the matter. I've a brother, a good doctor, and a good man, too, as the world goes, was, before he studied science, a believer and church member, but he doubts or disbelieves now, says he thinks with Briggs and Smith that Scripture may not be unerring. Don't believe that inspiration comes from sources supernatural, thinks he knows as much as I do, or as any other man does, about God and hell and heaven, calls them myths or mental concepts modified by modern culture. I've done all I could to save him, but I can't convince the fellow. Science is the last invention of the devil for man's ruin. I've no ill will toward the doctors, but I'd rather do without them than to encourage modern science by endorsing their great virtues. Do you know that sharp-nosed woman that's so down on your profession? I have knowed her 40 years now. She's a widder, had a daughter, and some property, a doctor, one of these yer travellin' fellers, smart as lightning and good lookin', made love to her, got her money, and then ran away with Marthy. I don't blame her for bein' sassy," said the gentleman in blue jeans, in a sort of whisper to me. "Do you know the other woman?" said I, also confidential. "No, I don't exactly know her, but she hain't no common woman. She's got sense, and she's got courage, and's as eloquent as Doris. Doctors are no longer needed, if they ever were, as healers of the sick. I mean such doctors as depend on drugs to cure us. We have doctors now who teach us how to cure ourselves without them, more efficient, less expensive," said a bright-faced, sprightly woman, with an air of transcendental, esoteric, theosophic, sublimated satisfaction, looking through her gold-rimmed glasses. "Faith cure?" queried then the preacher. "Well, no, not exactly faith cure. Christian Science is the name of this new method of restoring health and vigor to the body," said the young, enthusiastic convert to a fad preposterous. "What's the difference? I don't see it," said the preacher, or half growled it. "Faith cures imply miracle, and are effected, if at all, by supernatural power, suspending natural laws, responsive to the supplications of the faithful, special acts of God, while science cures indeed by application of great principles, eternal, doing violence to no law. Christian Science is true science, that is all there is about it," said the plucky little woman. "When by whom was it discovered?" asked the somewhat baffled preacher. "Christian Science was discovered, and has since been taught to others, by a famous Boston lady, Mrs. Eddy. Her book tells you all about it. Get it, read it. It will do you good to do so," said the woman, still undaunted. "Christian Science! Devilish nonsense! Why call Christian? Why call science? I suppose because it's neither. Neither Christ nor the apostles ever said a word about it. They were healers of the sick, too. Pure unmitigating humbug! Sneered the preacher, much disgusted. You may think so, others do not, quite as capable of judging. Said the advocate of science versus faith, with smile sarcastic. The biggest fools in God's world are silly women always chasing after foolish fads of some kind, said the ministerial critic. Christian Science is no fad, sir. Names are nothing, facts are potent, principles are worthy credence. Only when by facts supported, and you may have heard the legend, that a man is as he thinketh, which is truth, and Christian Science only makes an application of that principle. It cures too, there can be no doubt about it, said the philosophic female. Ever cure consumption? Or a cancer? Or a case of smallpox? Couldn't cure a hoss, I reckon, said the skeptical old farmer, winking at me very slyly. No, nor mules, nor human asses, sharply snapped the witty woman. The joke was old, but we all laughed, every one who heard, except the ancient maiden, prim and proper, and the sentimental widow, leaning on the masher's shoulder. End of chapter 12.